let's dive into the full narrated chapter of One Piece, 1168. It's getting really interesting. Hop aboard right after the opening.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today represents a huge moment. We've got One Piece chapter 1168 fully narrated. We're finally at the tail end of Harald's flashback. Before we start, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's cut the chase and get right to the video.
Cover request. Cover story request. A family of sheep knitted 6 gloves for Hachun. Page 1 box. Last year, 15 years ago, in every country in the world, we see a city. One of the residents says, "Did you hear? They say those giant marines are standing out in their missions." Another citizen says, "They're really reliable." Another citizen adds, "I used to think they were a scary race, but now I'd love to meet one in person someday." We see a man, a chef. He says, "Can't we stock up more? Or we can't order more. It's seafood from Elbaf. It's super popular." The man talking to him says, "I can imagine it is." In another panel, we see that even pirates are benefiting. A pirate captain says, "Elbaf cedar. The quality is excellent, but it's a huge hassle to transport." Page 2. Box, New World, Elbaf. We see Harald already in Elbaf giving a speech. Harald says, "When our wish to join the world government is realized, I intend to build a tourist ship for our country. Allied nations will be able to visit whenever they want." As Harald gives his speech, his name is cheered by the people of Elbaf. Harald continues his inspiring speech. "From the world's perspective, we are seen as a minority race, countless races from countless countries. Each one has a culture worthy of respect, and every time we come into contact with them, Elbaf will gain new knowledge and new friends." Citizen, "I'm looking forward to that." Harald then says, "Just one more step. The future is bright." Some giants say, "So we'll finally be able to retire from the warrior life, huh?" In his thoughts, Harald says, "Ida, I'll make this happen." Box, Walrus School. We see him talking to Saul. Harald says, "Saul, all of this is thanks to you all." Saul says, "This is much healthier than letting children swing swords around. Derashishi." Page 4. Continuing the conversation, Saul says, "Are you not afraid of losing all this, Harald?" Note, Saul refers to Elbaf's military power. Harald says, "I no longer believe that military strength means national strength. Ida taught me everything. Meeting her, that was the true treasure of my life." As he says this, they are standing before Ida's gravestone, and then he begins to remember her final moments. Ida, lying in her bed, said, "Harald, Elbaf really changed. When I first arrived here, there was so much internal fighting that it was frightening, but you started changing everything little by little." Page 5, Ida continues, "Children studying, happy laughter, now it truly feels like a different country." Harald says, "Ancient customs, strange traditions, all the bad habits of the warrior era must be thrown away." Ida says, "Oh my, but I do like the warrior pride, you know? I even think it's kind of cool. You must value your own culture." He says, "Then what about the fact that I was never able to marry you? I never accepted that." Heh. "You wanted to make me your queen, didn't you?" Note, Ida coughs a lot while speaking. Ida says, "Saying such cute things, how adorable. And what about Loki-kun?" Harald says, "He could be treated as Hiruden's younger brother, right?" It says, "In my heart, he always was. Ahaha." Page 6, Ida says, "But just these feelings are enough to make me feel full, like I've eaten many meals. But are you sure it's all right? You are the king of everyone, King Harald. That moment is coming soon, isn't it?" Harald says, "That's right, Ida. In very little time, we will connect with the entire world. Our world will expand tens of thousands of times, and when that happens, we'll travel together again, just like the old days." Ida, smiling, says, "That sounds perfect. I'm looking forward to it." Harald says, "So am I." Ida held Harald's hand, and then her hand went limp, passing away. Hashtag, page 7. Harald leaves Ida's house with a hand covering his face. Outside, snow falls. Hiruden and his crew, Mato, Gabon, Ripley, and Colin, are there. Hiruden and the others run toward Ida. All of them are crying. Loki is inside a detention cell. The ruins of Brewer Village are shown. Loki lowers his hat quietly in respect. The scene changes. 14 years ago, Holy Land. Mary Geois. Shanks disappeared? Yes, if his mission had been completed, he would have officially become a knight, but now that opportunity has fallen onto your lap. What will you do? Harald then says, of course, I want to join the Gods' Knights. That way Elbaf will also become an affiliated nation. The Gorosei say, congratulations, the highest trusts you. We've been waiting a long time for this. You will become a king who will deeply change Elbaf's history. Harald says, well, actually, pages 9 to 11. As Harald speaks with the Gorosei, he walks toward the throne room. He says, when Elbaf finally joins the world government, I intend to abdicate the throne. Someone younger and purer must become the new king. When they reach the throne room, a dry voice says, that shall be decided by Mu. There is someone on the throne, eyes coming into focus. Harald says, why, there is someone on the empty throne? Imu says, come closer, Harald. I have been watching you. Then Harald is branded with the mark of the Pact of the Depths. Harald says, ooh-ah, the power, it's overflowing. It's almost terrifying. Mars says, this is called Immortality. Warcurie says, it sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it? Venus Juro says, you have surpassed the stage of being a monster. Now you are a weapon. Imu says, at last, you have become an immortal knight in service of Mu. Harald says, immortal, I still can't quite feel it. Imu then says, create an abyss, the kanji reads pentagram in Elbaf, which shall serve as the link between us. Upon completing this final mission assigned to you, your wish shall be granted. Elbaf shall be recognized as an affiliated nation of the world government. Harald then says, long live. Pages 12 and 13, text box. Orist Castle, Harald is seated on the throne, and before him we see the pentagram he carved into the floor. But then he hears a voice. Harald. Huh? What did you just say, Lord Imu? Imu says, mobilize the entire nation and form a historic army. Establish a giant warrior fleet to stand beside the Marines and serve the world. That is, this does not please Harald, who snaps back. No, wait. Everything I did was to free Elbaf from war. Of course, I intended to encourage those who wish to join the Marines, but... The guards wonder who Harald is talking to and why he is speaking alone. Imu then presses Harald. You said you would pay for your history, that you would even become a slave if necessary. Harald protests again. That was supposed to be only me. Imu says, this is not a story you can carry alone. Do not contradict. You cannot defy Mu. Those who forged the Pact of the Depths received immortality and power in exchange for absolute obedience to the orders. No matter what you think in your mind, you will execute them. Harald then loses control of his own body. Harald says, damn, it's useless. He's taking over me. Elbaf is. They never intended to welcome us into the world's circle. Damn you, Imu. Tech page 14. Desperate, Harald says, guards, come here. They intended to turn the warriors of Elbaf into slaves. The guards, confused, ask if there is someone in the room with him. Harald, struggling against his own body, clings to a pillar. He says, guards, bring chains, quick, tie me to this pillar. The guards still have no idea what is happening. Harald says, quick, call Jarul-sama and my sons. The guards say, Hadrudin is at sea, and Loki, Lord Loki is imprisoned in a cell because of that incident. Harald says, can't resist. The guards, shocked, say, what is happening, Your Majesty? Harald shouts, it doesn't matter. Release Loki now. Final page, narrator box, underworld detention cell. Guards say, you're being released, Loki. Loki says, huh? But why? Guards say, run to Orist Castle. The king is summoning you. Jarul's house. The guards say, Jarul, quickly. Jarul says, wait, what's happening? Narrator ends the chapter. Now, let us return to the story. On this day, a terrible massacre takes place inside the castle, and the most beloved king in the history of Elbaf, the wise and noble Harald, loses his life. Final note, the story is interconnected. End of the chapter, break next week. This chapter will be officially released on Sunday, December 7th.
And that's a wrap, guys. That was the full narrated breakdown of this One Piece chapter. Now I gotta know, what would you rate this chapter? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace. Bye.